Chapter 31. One was the eldest daughter of the Song family, who was also a senior designer, and the other was Mrs. Gu. Everyone present knew that they could not outbid them, so they could only watch the show. "I'm out of money." At this moment, this word was written on Song Wuyo's face. Song Juyue and Song Jumei turned around. Seeing her expression, they were extremely proud. 31 million, going once, 35 million. Before the host could say a second time, Gu Yanhao, who was in the guest seat, elegantly raised his sign. His low and mellow voice seemed to have a murderous power. Everywhere he went, there was a serious silence. As soon as he raised the price, everyone present looked at him. The high and mighty, handsome man was so handsome and cold no matter how one looked at him. 35 million was not a big number for these rich people. However, the other party was raising the price for Gu Yanhao. They all knew that Gu Yanhao never failed to get what he wanted. Moreover, he was the richest man in the country. They could not compete with him. Song Juyue looked at Gu Yanhao in shock. He raised the price. If he did not raise the price, she would be the one who won the bid for the hairpin. Why did he raise the price with her? Big sister, young Master Gu finally raised the price. "He must be giving this hairpin to you," Song Jumei said happily to Song Juyue. Song Juyue frowned slightly. "Was that so? Young Master Gu knew that you would like it when he fought with Song Wuyo, so he bid for it and gave it to you in such a way. Not only did he express his feelings for you, but he also gave you face. More importantly, he slapped Song Wuyo in the face," Song Jumei said again. After hearing this, Song Juyue thought about it and felt that Song Jumei's words made sense. Gu Yanhao hated Song Wuyo so much. He must not be used to her arguing with her, so he bid for the hairpin and gave it to her. Song Juyue smiled sweetly and looked at Gu Yanhao with a gentle gaze. Song Wuyo pursed her lips and glanced at Gu Yanhao indifferently. In the end, he still wanted to bid for the hairpin and give it to Song Juyue. After the auction ended, Song Wuyo and Su Jing walked out of the Century building. "Wuyo!" Behind her, a female voice called out to her. Song Wuyo stopped at the stairs and turned to look inside. Song Juyue and Song Jumei walked out of the hall. "Wuyo, you can still go home next month to get your pocket money. Dad didn't stop you." Song Wuyo came in front of Song Juyue and smiled. In front of others, Song Juyue would always act like she cared about her arrogant younger sister. "Got it," Song Wuyo replied indifferently. Song Juyue sized up Song Wuyo. Today, she was wearing the purple dress she had worn last time. Although it was a cheap dress bought 4 years ago, the quality was not bad. When Song Wuyo wore it, she looked feminine. Song Wuyo was really beautiful when she was quiet. Just like now, she was cold and indifferent. Her unfathomable expression gave people an indescribable feeling. This feeling made Song Juyue feel that she was a queen. Song Juyue did not like the feeling that Song Wuyo was stronger than her. She smiled. "Wuyo, didn't you buy this dress for your birthday 4 years ago? Why are you still wearing it? It's faded. I like to wear it." Song Wuyo smiled insincerely. "Why don't I design a few fashionable dresses for you?" Song Juyue said considerately. "No need," Song Wuyo said. At this moment, a flashy Maybach stopped at the entrance of the building. The horn sounded, obviously calling them. They looked over and saw that it was Gu Yanhao's sports car. Chapter 32. Big sister, young Master Gu is sending you back. Let me drive your car back for you. When Song Jumei saw that it was Gu Yanhao's car, she smiled so widely that her eyes turned into crescents. Song Juyue smiled elegantly and sweetly. She thought that young Master Gu was definitely going to give Enchanting to her. She looked at Song Wuyo and said quickly, Wuyo, Dad is having a birthday banquet the day after tomorrow. Don't forget to buy Dad a present. Young Master Gu is sending me back, so I won't talk to you anymore. With that, she walked elegantly towards Gu Yanhao's car. Before she could take a few steps, Ade, who was sitting in the driver's seat, rolled down the window and said to Song Wuyo, who was about to leave, Young madam, young master is looking for you. When Song Wuyo heard this, she turned around and looked at Ade in confusion. Su Jing looked at Song Wuyo in surprise. Song Juyue stopped in her tracks, and the smile on her face froze. Young Master Gu was not sending her back, but looking for Song Wuyo. Seeing that Song Wuyo was still standing at the same spot, Ade said, Young madam, young master said that if you don't get in the car, he won't mind getting out of the car and dragging you in. These words were like a needle that pricked Song Juyue. Miss, get in the car. Su Jing happily pulled Song Wuyo over. The moment Song Wuyo opened the car door, she felt a bone-chilling coldness from the car. She looked at Gu Yanhao, who was sitting inside and exuding a cold aura. She was stunned for a moment, but still got in the car. After she got in, Su Jing closed the door and got into the front passenger seat. The back seat belonged to young Master Gu and Miss, so she did not dare to squeeze in. Fasten your seatbelt. Gu Yanhao glanced coldly at Song Wuyo. After Song Wuyo fastened her seatbelt, the car started. From the beginning to the end, the man did not even look at Song Juyue, who was outside the car. Song Juyue could no longer maintain her smile as she watched his car drive away. What happened? Song Jomei walked over and looked at the car that was driving away strangely. She said unhappily, What's wrong with young Master Gu today? Why did he let Song Wuyo get into his car? Didn't Gu Yanhao never let Song Wuyo get in his car? Song Wuyo is still his wife. Isn't it normal for her to get into his car? Song Juyue tried to make her tone as calm as possible, but there was a hint of jealousy in her voice. So what if she's his wife? Doesn't Master Gu hate her? No matter how annoying he is, he can't not give her a ride home, right? I thought that young Master Gu would give the hairpin to you in front of the media. How is that possible? Song Juyue smiled bitterly. Everyone in M City knows that Song Wuyo is his wife, and Song Wuyo was at the scene. Master Gu would not do such a stupid thing. Anyway, you must win the fashion competition this time. In the car, the atmosphere was a little strange. Song Wuyo sat upright and placed her hands on her thighs in a well-behaved manner. Wasn't she tired of sitting like this again? Gu Yanhao smiled coldly. Song Wuyo, why do you have to pretend in front of me? Don't I know what kind of person you are? Song Wuyo glanced at him coldly and did not speak. She did not want to talk to him because she was not in a good mood. Chapter 33. Gu Yanhao looked at her with a scrutinizing gaze. Is this dress worth more than 60 yuan? Wearing a cheap dress and auctioning a hairpin worth tens of millions. Was she sick in the head? Song Wuyo replied plainly, 20% off, 79 yuan. It was far more than 60 yuan. Gu Yanhao was slightly stunned. He did not expect her to answer him in such a manner. Ade, who was driving, could not help but glance at Song Wuyo in the rearview mirror. Song Wuyo's expression was indifferent from the moment she got into the car. It was not hard to tell that she had something on her mind. You don't have money, so why did you pretend to be fat? Gu Yanhao asked in a low voice. Song Wuyo looked at him and smiled. Because the hairpin is beautiful. Just because it's beautiful. Gu Yanhao narrowed his eyes. If it was just because it was beautiful, why would her emotions be so unstable? Song Wuyo looked indifferent. Yes. There are other items that are more beautiful and have a longer history than this. I don't see you like it so much. I like all of them. But Song Juyue doesn't like those. Song Wuyo said the last sentence on purpose. Didn't he want to give the hairpin to Song Juyue? Gu Yanhao's gaze turned cold. So you want to fight with Song Juyue for it? Can't I? Song Wuyo looked at him quietly for a moment and then smiled charmingly. What if Song Juyue gives up? Would she? If she gives up, you have to buy it at the price you raised. If you can't afford it, don't you know how the law will punish you? The man's voice was so cold that it made her shiver. Song Wuyo ran her fingers through her hair and smiled even more charmingly. How is it possible that I can't afford it? Song Wuyo turned her body slightly and smiled at Gu Yanhao. I heard that the women in L country are very popular. If I can't afford it, I can go there and earn 30 million yuan a month with my beauty and figure. Looking at her smile and hearing her words, Gu Yanhao suddenly felt a surge of anger in his chest. He looked at her coldly. How dare you? The thought of her naked body lying under another man's body, allowing them to ravage her, made him inexplicably angry. I'm so arrogant, willful and unruly. What would I not dare to do? He even dares to kill people. Song Wuyo mocked himself. In her previous life, she had killed so many enemy soldiers. Gu. However, the surveillance camera in the villa only allowed him to see Song Wuyo. Could a car accident cause such a huge change in a person? Their personality changed, and even their sense of beauty changed. Although the dress she was wearing was cheap and was from a street stall, it didn't look bad on her at all. He thought that she was pretending to walk and sit elegantly. When he pulled up the surveillance video of the living room, he realized that she had been like this for the past few days. She had really changed. She had changed so much that he couldn't help but want to look at her a few more times. Take it. Gu Yanhao suddenly reached over, his good-looking hand holding a delicate small wooden box. Song Wuyo glanced at the small wooden box, then looked into his eyes in confusion. What? Don't you like Qianqing? Gu Yanhao looked at her. When Song Wuyo heard this, she looked at him in surprise. You want to give it to me? He actually spent so much money to buy a hairpin for her. Chapter 34. Ade and Su Jing, who were sitting in front, were also stunned. Su Jing instinctively turned her head and looked at the small wooden box in Gu Yanhao's hand in astonishment. Was she dreaming? Young Master Gu was giving a hairpin to Miss. Don't be touched. I just don't want outsiders to say that I'm petty. I can't even bear to buy my wife a hairpin that she likes, Gu Yanhao said coldly, looking a little arrogant. Wife? Song Wuyo found it funny and laughed out loud. Gu Yanhao, we're about to get a divorce. Don't you think that the word wife is very ironic? Gu Yanhao pulled a long face. As long as you don't sign it, you're still my wife. He didn't know why he suddenly wanted to give the hairpin to her. He just thought that it looked good and wanted to take a photo of a model wearing it to participate in a fashion competition. His main style this year was retro. An ancient dress paired with this hairpin could be said to be even more beautiful. But when he saw Song Wuyo's expression and gaze when she excitedly grabbed the item to show the beautiful woman at the auction, his heart was shaken. He clearly saw her excitement and anticipation when she saw the hairpin, but after the beautiful woman showed her the hairpin, a look of disappointment flashed past her excited and expectant eyes. After that, she sat there in a daze, her face full of sadness. How could a hairpin cause her to have such complicated and heart-wrenching emotions? I don't want it. Song Wuyo rejected Gu Yanhao directly. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows, his eyes cold with displeasure. Don't you like it? You'll give it to me if I like it. Song Wuyo looked at him in surprise. Gu Yanhao, don't you hate me? Didn't I just say it? Gu Yanhao gritted his teeth, his gaze cold. No. No matter why he gave it to her, she didn't want it. She liked it, but it didn't mean that she wanted it. She had deliberately raised the price with Song Juyue. Everyone thought that the hairpin was Qianqing. Actually, it wasn't. She bid so that Song Juyue would buy a fake love at a high price. She had purposely told Su Jing that there was 30 million yuan. With Song Juyue's personality, she would definitely take out 30 million yuan to compete with her if she knew that she had 30 million yuan. She did not expect that Gu Yanhao would bid such a high price. She thought that Song Juyue had raised the price and that he wouldn't. She thought that he would give the hairpin to Song Juyue. Why not? Gu Yanhao's eyes narrowed dangerously. Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao with a faint smile. Didn't you hear the story of noble consort song? Qianqing was given to her by Emperor X, hairpin, love for a lifetime. You gave me a hairpin, and you want to be with me for a lifetime. You believe in these historical stories too. Gu Yanhao smiled disdainfully. In order to move future generations, this story has been changed again and again. Song Wuyo's eyes narrowed and she pursed her lips. Her heart was a little heavy. Indeed, the story of noble consort Song and Emperor X has been changed beyond recognition. Do you want it or not? Gu Yanhao looked at her coldly. She spoke as if she knew the story of noble consort Song and Emperor X very well. She was a high school student, and her grades were terrible. He didn't believe that she knew much about history. No. Song Wuyo was very determined. Damn it. Gu Yanhao cursed softly. It was his first time giving jewelry to a woman, and it was a woman he didn't like at all. He was actually rejected. The man glared at her fiercely. His gaze was so cold that it made her tremble. Chapter 35. Song Wuyo's heart trembled violently. She looked at him defensively. He wouldn't kill her, would he? Would she be so pitiful that she was killed by a man in both her lives? Along the way, the atmosphere was tense and oppressive. Ade drove carefully and Su Jing did not even dare to breathe loudly. Song Wuyo sat quietly and looked out of the window. After returning to the villa, Song Wuyo went straight upstairs. She was in a hurry to go back to her room to draw up the design drafts. After the design drafts were done, she still had to rush the tailor to make the clothes. As Song Wuyo hurried upstairs, Gu Yanhao's eyes darkened. Give it to her. Gu Yanhao suddenly stopped Su Jing. Su Jing was shocked by his sudden action. Yes. Young Master Gu. Su Jing took the box and hurried upstairs. Young Master, why did you give the hairpin to young Madam? Ade asked boldly. You must have taken the wrong medicine. Gu Yanhao shot him a fierce look. Ade, Miss, young Master Gu asked me to bring this up for you. Su Jing walked into Song Wuyo's room and handed the small wooden box to Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo looked at the box coldly. I didn't want it. Why did he insist on giving it to me? Miss, could it be that young Master Gu is starting to like you? Su Jing thought for a while and her eyes lit up as she looked at Song Wuyo in surprise. Song Wuyo smiled. But I don't like him anymore. Miss, isn't it good that young Master Gu gives you something? Su Jing asked in confusion. I've already decided to give up on him. Anything he gives me is meaningless, Song Wuyo said calmly. Su Jing looked at Song Wuyo deeply when she heard this. She was just a servant and her job was to take good care of her master. It was not suitable for her to say too much about her master's love life. Miss, do you want to eat something? Su Jing asked. Song Wuyo thought for a moment and then smiled brightly at Su Jing. Beggar's chicken, do you know how to make it? Su Jing was put in a difficult position. No, Song Wuyo swallowed her saliva. Thinking about the taste of the beggar's chicken in her previous life, she couldn't help but drool. In this life, no delicacy could compare to the beggar's chicken she made. Is there a chicken in the fridge? Song Wuyo asked. Su Jing nodded. Yes. The whole thing. Su Jing nodded. Yes, I bought it this morning. That's great, Song Wuyo said with a smile. Go and wash the chicken first. Marinate it with soy sauce, rice wine, and salt. I'll go down and do it later. When Su Jing heard this, she looked at Song Wuyo in astonishment. Her expression was as if she had discovered a new continent. Miss, you know how to cook. I'm going to buy you do now. Hurry up and do it. Su Jing nodded in a daze. Oh, Su Jing turned around and walked out slowly. What happened to her, miss? Why did she seem like a completely different person since she woke up? That unruly miss who never did any household chores wanted to personally make beggar's chicken? After Su Jing left, Song Wuyo restrained the smile on her face and glanced indifferently at the small wooden box beside her. It wasn't her hairpin. She didn't want it. She really couldn't understand Gu Yanhao. He clearly hated her, rejected her, and disdained her. Why did he give her such a precious hairpin? Just because she raised the price with Song Jiuyue at the auction. Thinking of this, Song Wuyo smiled coldly. Gu Yanhao, you disdain me, but I disdain you. She put the small wooden box into the drawer and started to revise her design draft. An hour later. Chapter 36. Song Wuyo came to the kitchen. When she passed by the living room, she didn't see Gu Yanhao and Ade. Song Wuyo asked Su Jing, where's Gu Yanhao? He should have gone out. Su Jing said. How did she know about young Master Gu? Su Jing had already marinated the chicken and was cooling it in a basin of water. After adding soy sauce and rice wine, the kitchen was already filled with a fragrant smell. Miss, I followed your instructions and marinated the chicken for an hour. What should I do next? Su Jing asked. Leave the rest to me. Song Wuyo smiled. Song Wuyo took out tin foil and wrapped the marinated chicken. Then she took out half a basin of flour and began to knead the dough. Su Jing stood at the side. She wanted to help, but she couldn't do anything. Looking at Song Wuyo's skillful movements, Su Jing was very suspicious. How was this 100 degrees look? This was a rhythm that she did often. After kneading the flour, Song Wuyo rolled the dough into a thick layer of dough. Then she tightly wrapped the dough around the chicken wrapped in tin foil. After doing all this, Song Wuyo put the chicken into the oven and prepared to let it roast for half an hour. Standing in front of the oven and looking at the number on the oven, Song Wuyo smiled with satisfaction. It was good that the original owner left her memories. At least she wouldn't be ignorant about these high-tech things in this strange world. Half an hour later, the chicken was roasted. As soon as the oven door opened, a fragrant smell assailed her nose. Wow, it smells so good. Su Jing clapped her hands and shouted, Miss, how did you know how to make beggar's chicken? Such a familiar and fragrant smell made Song Wuyo drool. She didn't have time to answer Su Jing's question. She took the chicken out of the oven. After roasting the chicken, the flour on the outside had hardened and turned yellow. Song Wuyo placed it on the dining table and then knocked on it with her fist. The skin split open, and the smell that assailed her nose became even more fragrant. Just eat like this. Song Wuyo opened the foil and tore off a chicken wing for Su Jing. Su Jing held the chicken wing and looked at Song Wuyo in a daze. Song Wuyo tore off the other chicken wing and started eating. The taste is not good. The aroma is not strong enough. It's bland. Song Woo-yo commented while eating. Maybe I didn't add enough salt, Su Jing replied mechanically. No. Song Woo-yo shook her head. If you wrap it in lotus leaves, wrap it in mud, and roast it in the ground, it will be even more fragrant. Although the taste was slightly worse than the ones made in her previous life, it was enough to whet Song Woo-yo's appetite. Miss, from your words, why do I feel that you often cook beggar's chicken? Yes, I often cook it. Every time I came back from a victorious battle, my brothers and I would cook beggar's chicken together. Then we would eat the chicken and drink big mouthfuls of wine. Suddenly recalling the past, Song Woo-yo's eyes flashed with homesickness. She said sadly, those times were too beautiful. Su Jing was a little confused. What battle? What military camp? Wasn't Miss brought back to the Song family when she was 5 years old? Although her life in the Song family was not as good as the eldest and second Miss, she never had to cook. When Su Jing came to work in the Song family, Song Woo-yo was only a girl in her teens. When did she join the army? Su Jing looked at Song Woo-yo with heartache and pursed her lips. Miss must have damaged her brain in the car accident. Su Jing thought so, but Gu Yanhao, who was standing in the living room like a god, did not think so. Gu Yanhao was working in the study. After he was done, he wanted to go out to eat. Unexpectedly, he heard Song Woo-yo's voice coming from the kitchen. Chapter 37. When he was in the stairwell, he smelled a melancholy fragrance. This fragrance made him, who had already wanted to go out for a meal, have an obvious appetite. He thought that Su Jing was making delicious food for Song Woo-yo, but unexpectedly heard Song Woo-yo's voice coming from inside. He happened to hear this sentence. His footsteps stopped abruptly, and his eyes were instantly filled with intense waves. Song Woo-yo had fought in a war. Ever since she met him at the age of 13, she had been trying to find ways to appear in front of him all day long. She was like a shadow that he could not shake off. From then on, he saw her almost every day. When did she join the army and fight in a war? And win a war? These words sounded unbelievable, but what she said did not seem to be false. As Song Woo-yo lamented, she inadvertently saw Su Jing staring at her in a daze. She was stunned and blinked. What did she just say to scare Su Jing? Looking at the chicken in Su Jing's hand, Song Woo-yo finally reacted. She had just said what happened in the army camp. Oh no. Su Jing, hurry up and eat. Song Woo-yo tore off another piece of chicken to eat. Okay. Su Jing smiled and took a bite of the chicken. Miss, it's really delicious. Song Woo-yo smiled proudly. I made it, of course it's delicious. Gu Yanhao walked lightly to the entrance of the dining room. His deep, ink-like eyes fell directly on Song Woo-yo. She stood in front of the dining table and tore off the chicken to eat. Her actions were not crude at all. Instead, there was a kind of flamboyance and lofty aspiration. Miss, such delicious chicken. Do you want to leave some for young Master Gu? Su Jing asked. Song Woo-yo glanced at Su Jing. Why should I leave it for him? If he knows that you can make beggar's chicken, he might see you in a different light. He already sees me in a different light. When? Su Jing gossiped. In his heart, Song Woo-yo is a good-for-nothing, stupid, and arrogant woman. Hasn't he already seen her in a new light? I'm afraid that if I ask him to eat it, he will think that my chicken is dirty. The thought of Gu Yanhao's cold face affected her appetite. That's true. Young Master Gu likes Miss Gu. He thinks that everything you do is wrong. Su Jing felt sorry for Song Woo-yo. Let's eat chicken, don't worry about him, Song Woo-yo said indifferently. Gu Yanhao, who was standing at the door, had a sinister look on his face. Miss, you used to put young Master Gu at the center of everything. You would always leave a piece of biscuit for young Master Gu to eat. Now that you don't let him eat the chicken you personally made, have you really let go of him? Su Jing thought about it and asked the doubts in her heart. After dying once, I've accepted everything, Song Wuyo said faintly. Su Jing smiled. Now that I see that Miss is living an easy life, I also feel relaxed. In the future, I will let myself live an easy life. In the past, I treated Gu Yanhao like a treasure. Now, I treat him like grass. That man, other than being a little handsome and a little rich, he doesn't have any other good points. He has a bad temper and a strange personality. He always shows me a black face, as if I killed his biological parents. Su Jing used her tongue to lick the oil stains on her lips. Was young Master Gu that bad? As a man, he is so narrow-minded. I really don't understand why I loved him in the past. I loved him so much that I forgot myself. Su Jing did not know what to say. Now I've thought it through. He treats me as trash, but I treat him as a pile of shit. Chapter 38. Song Wuyo flashed a bright smile at Su Jing. At least trash can be recycled. Shit can't be recycled. The corners of Su Jing's eyes twitched when she heard that. Miss, we're eating the delicious beggar's chicken. Is it really good to mention shit at this time? You dare to say that I'm shit? Suddenly, a cold voice drifted over. As soon as the voice fell, the temperature in the dining room dropped by a few degrees. Young Master Gu. Su Jing was shocked. Her heart trembled and she hurriedly greeted Gu Yanhao respectfully. Song Wuyo turned her head and glanced at him. She did not feel embarrassed or afraid because she had been caught bad-mouthing him. She ate the chicken calmly and easily. Gu Yanhao's cold eyes stared straight at Song Wuyo. There was a hint of anger in them. Su Jing retreated timidly. Seeing Gu Yanhao's gloomy expression, she was worried that he would strangle Song Wuyo to death. He walked over step by step like a life-reaping Azura. There was an oppressive feeling that made it hard to breathe. Song Wuyo looked up and looked at him calmly. Song Wuyo, you're getting bolder. Gu Yanhao pinched her chin and looked at her with burning eyes. How can I survive in this day and age if I don't have the guts? Song Wuyo smiled and looked back at him with her beautiful eyes. Have you really gotten over it? Gu Yanhao's eyes were cold. He was obviously eager to divorce her. Why did he feel unhappy when he heard her say that she had gotten over it? Song Wuyo nodded. Yes. Didn't he want to not pester him and stay away from him? You'd better not play any tricks. Otherwise, I won't let you off. Gu Yanhao let go of her. Damn it. Her game of loosening the reins in order to grasp them worked. Song Wuyo put on a fake smile. I don't have time to play tricks with you. She didn't want him to play tricks with her. Gu Yanhao lowered his eyes and coldly glanced at the half-chicken. Looking at the tender, smooth, and refreshing chicken meat, it was really mouth-watering. Those who didn't cook often would never be able to make such a beautiful beggar's chicken that looked, smelled, and tasted good. Gu Yanhao asked coldly, other than this, what else can you do? Why should I tell you? Song Wuyo looked at him provocatively. Gu Yanhao narrowed his eyes and glared at her. What are you staring at? Don't think that I'll be afraid of you just because you have a cold face. Do you want to eat it? Song Wuyo asked. I don't want to. Although his appetite had been greatly stimulated by the fragrance, Gu Yanhao was very concerned about his reputation. If you don't want to, then forget it. Song Wuyo muttered, I still want to give you a chicken butt. Song Woo. When Gu Yanhao heard that she wanted to give him a chicken butt, his eyes suddenly became extremely cold. Song Woo blinked and looked at him suspiciously. What's wrong? Isn't it good to give you a chicken butt? The chicken butt is boneless. It's fragrant and tender. Don't you like to eat it? Gu Yanhao squeezed Song Woo's chin again and stared at her gloomily. Song Woo, looks like you're itching for a beating. When Song Woo heard this, she laughed. You won't hit me, right? Her red and full lips were stained with oil, as if she had applied a layer of seductive lipstick. It looked even fuller. At this moment, Gu Yanhao had an impulse to kiss her. He suddenly smiled seductively. I won't hit you. I'll eat you. Eat me. Song Woo thought it was funny, but before she could laugh, her whole body froze. Because, in the next second, Gu Yanhao lowered his head and fiercely kissed her full and seductive lips that were stained with oil. Chapter 39. Ah! Young Master Gu kissed Miss. When Su Jing saw this, it was as if she had been kissed. She was so shocked that her eyes widened and she looked at them in disbelief. Young Master Gu actually kissed Miss. What was going on? Song Woo widened her eyes and looked at the handsome face in front of her. The man's lips were cold. He captured her lips and nibbled on them gently. Song Woo's mind went blank instantly. It was as if it had short-circuited or crashed. Gu Yanhao's lower abdomen tightened. He did not expect her taste to be so sweet. With the fragrance of chicken, it was addictive. He did not know why he was so impulsive and wanted to kiss her. Once he had this thought, he lowered his head and kissed her without hesitation. When he touched her lips, his whole body trembled as if he had been electrocuted. Then, an evil fire quickly gathered in his abdomen. He nibbled on it gently and deepened the kiss. It tasted good. It made him want to kiss her again and again. He pressed both hands on Song Woo's shoulders and took half a step forward to close the distance between them. This was Gu Yanhao's first time kissing a woman. He did not expect this feeling to be so magical. Song Woo's fragrance slid into his nostrils. He felt that his heart was being hit by something and it was trembling. As his kiss deepened, Song Woo's mind went blank and she completely forgot to think. Her mouth and nose were filled with the scent of a man. The other party's warm breath drifted around her face, making her skin itchy and soft. Her breathing was a little hurried. Her heart stopped for a few seconds and then it thumped wildly. After the long kiss, Song Woo's face was extremely red. Her blank mind was a little short of oxygen. When Gu Yanhao let go of her, she was panting softly. Gu Yanhao lowered his eyes and looked at her coquettish and ignorant look. He suddenly felt that she was very adorable. Eating you is much better than eating chicken buttocks. The man licked his lips and said in a low and magnetic voice. Gu Yanhao, you bastard. When Song Woo heard what he said, she shuddered and regained her senses. She glared at him, her beautiful eyes filled with obvious anger. I know you like it. Gu Yanhao raised his hand and stroked her lips with his long and fair fingers. His handsome face smiled seductively and devilishly. I don't like it. Song Woo angrily slapped his hand away and took a step back. Don't touch me. Gu Yanhao's eyes flashed. His pitch-black phoenix eyes contained a faint smile as he said, If you dare to be rude to me again, I will punish you like this. Ha! Song Woo tried to calm herself down. She laughed disdainfully. Gu Yanhao, so you like women like me? Gu Yanhao squinted his eyes. What kind of woman are you? Didn't everyone in M City say that? Song Woo is arrogant, willful, unruly, selfish, stupid and vicious. If Song Wuyo did not mention it, she would not have realized that the original owner of this body had no merits at all. No matter what, you are still my wife for now. It's only right for me to touch my wife. Gu Yanhao looked at Song Wuyo with a half-smile. No matter how bad you are still a woman. Gu Yanhao, will you die if you admit that you like me? Song Wuyo's face was gloomy. He kissed her and wanted to attack her at the same time. Was there such a man in this world? Could it be that he would kiss every woman? If you want me to like you, you have to work harder. Chapter 40. With that, Gu Yanhao walked out of the restaurant in a good mood. Song Wuyo pursed her lips and turned around to look at his tall back. What did this man mean? Would he like her if she worked hard? She would not like him. Song Wuyo raised her hand in a fit of pique and used her sleeve to wipe her mouth forcefully. Her lips, which were already red, became even redder and swollen after she wiped them forcefully. Su Jing, who was watching from the side, also came back to her senses. Seeing Song Wuyo wiping her lips in a sadistic manner, she stopped her with a pained heart. Miss, stop wiping. You'll break the skin if you keep wiping. I hate the smell of Gu Yanhao, Song Wuyo said angrily. But can it be wiped off by wiping like this? Su Jing asked doubtfully. Hadn't this smell already seeped into the bones and blood? How could it be wiped off? If I can't wipe it off, I'll. Song Wuyo turned around as if she was looking for something. Suddenly, she saw the chicken in front of her and tore a piece to eat. As she ate, she said angrily, I'm eating chicken. My mouth is full of the smell of chicken, not his smell. Su Jing walked forward in small steps. She looked at Song Wuyo timidly, as if she was afraid of being scolded and wanted to hear the gossip. Miss, do you really not like young Master Gu kissing you? No. Song Wuyo stared at Su Jing guiltily. You're not allowed to ask. But, did she really not like it? At night, when she lay in bed and slowly recalled the kiss, she would blush and her heart would race. There was a trace of sweetness in her heart that made her unwilling to fall asleep for a long time. Song Nan invited his family and friends to celebrate his birthday. When Song Wuyo and Gu Yanhao arrived at the Song family villa, Song Nan's relatives and friends were basically all present. Celebrating a birthday was like holding a wedding banquet, bustling with noise and excitement. The appearance of Song Wuyo and Gu Yanhao was like a beautiful scenery, easily attracting everyone's attention. The fitting black suit on Gu Yanhao's tall body made him look even taller and taller. Song Wuyo was wearing a simple light blue dress. She was not the prettiest in this group of people, but she looked pure and clean. She had an indescribable charm with her hair draped over her shoulders. Her faint smile and graceful gait, coupled with her light blue dress, gave people the feeling that she was colder than the moon. Seeing her appear side by side with Gu Yanhao, Song Zhuyue's face darkened. She looked at Song Wuyo coldly. When the guests saw them, they were stunned, followed by astonishment. Song Wuyo and Gu Yanhao. Even Song Nan, who was chatting happily with his friends, was stunned by Song Wuyo's simple outfit. His eyes were fixed on her. He could not believe that the woman in front of him was his daughter with a terrible reputation. Moreover, she was attending his birthday celebration with Gu Yanhao. They were simply a match made in heaven when they stood together like this. Song Nan hurried forward and greeted Gu Yanhao enthusiastically. Son-in-law Gu, I'm really happy that you can come. This is a gift from Wuyo and I to father-in-law. We wish you good health, good fortune, and longevity. Gu Yanhao handed an exquisitely wrapped gift box to Song Nan. Song Nan took it with a smile. What a good son-in-law, a good son-in-law. Then he looked at Song Wuyo. Wuyo, you're dressed right. The nondescript clothes you used to wear were so ugly. Song Woo-yo smiled faintly. I know. Chapter 41. She had a smile on her face, but her heart was filled with disdain. If Gu Yenhao was not standing beside her, Song Nan would not give her such a kind smile. The style of the dress is not bad, but it is not branded. Mrs. Song, who was dressed very seductively and fashionably, came forward and sized up Song Woo-yo with a critical gaze. Her tone was slightly sharp. She had heard from Song Jiomei that Song Woo-yo's taste in clothes had changed after she woke up from the car accident. But he didn't expect that she could be so slim and elegant in such a simple dress. You are only giving me 3,000 renminbi a month. What expensive clothes can I buy? Song Woo-yo smiled and looked at Mrs. Song. You can come back next month to get it. I will give you 5,000 renminbi. Mrs. Song said generously. When that time comes, she will make things difficult for Song Woo-yo. Let's see if Song Woo-yo still dares to hit her daughter. Song Woo-yo smiled and said, thank you. After chatting with Song Woo-yo for a while, Gu Yenhao brought Song Woo-yo to a quiet place in the living room. Brother Song, is that really Song Woo-yo? How did she become so beautiful? Not long ago, the news reported that she hit Jiomei. How come she looks so beautiful and elegant now? She does not look like a fierce woman. Isn't that so? Sitting next to young Master Gu, the more I look at them, the more compatible they are. As soon as Gu Yenhao and Song Woo-yo left, a group of gossipy women surrounded Song Nan and Mrs. Song and started gossiping. Most of what they said was about Song Woo-yo's beauty, which made Mrs. Song feel a little uncomfortable. But because there were so many people around, and Gu Yenhao was also around, she had to go along with them and praise Song Woo-yo. Song Woo-yo, this bitch. She could not be domineering, so she pretended to be gentle. No matter how she pretended, she could not be compared to these two women. Mrs. Song glared at Song Nan. It was all because of this damn man. He could not control his lower body and brought home an infuriating bastard child. Song Nan's birthday was very grand. Gu Yenhao's grandfather also came over in the afternoon. Song Woo-yo's grandfather and Gu Yenhao's grandfather were old comrades. In Song Nan's generation, they became business partners. The two families had a good relationship, but it was a pity that Gu Yenhao's parents died in a plane accident 5 years ago. As soon as old Master Gu arrived, he wanted to chat with Song Woo-yo. During Song Woo-yo's car accident, he had gone to England to visit his sick daughter. He had just returned the day before yesterday. As soon as she returned to M City, she heard some bad things about Song Woo-yo. For example, beating up Song Jiomei in public and competing with Song Jiuyue for the Qianqing hairpin. Seeing Song Woo-yo in a simple dress, old Master Gu was very satisfied. They were strolling around the lotus pond in the Song family's backyard. When I heard that you had a miscarriage in England, I was very angry. You are too impulsive. Thinking of her unborn great-grandson, a trace of sadness flashed past Song Woo-yo's cloudy eyes. Song Woo-yo knew that the old man liked children very much. She looked at old Master Gu regretfully and apologetically. If I had known that you were not in M City that day, the car accident might not have happened. I received a call about your accident when I just arrived in England. I left in a hurry and wanted to call you again. Song Woo-yo smiled, looking indifferent. I don't want you to divorce Yenhao. Hearing this, Song Woo-yo looked at old Master Gu in surprise. Didn't he agree? Old Master Gu stopped in his tracks and looked at Song Woo-yo earnestly. Do you know why I want Yenhao to marry you? Chapter 42. Song Woo-yo shook her head and said calmly, I don't know. Because you are strong. Really? The person I like will never be wrong. Old Master Goose saw Song Wuyo's calm expression and narrowed his eyes. Are you unhappy that I don't agree to the divorce? Song Wuyo smiled. Grandpa, his divorce agreement is in my hands. Old Master Goo raised his eyebrows. Signed? Not yet. Then don't sign it. Song Wuyo looked at Old Master Goo in confusion. Grandpa, my reputation is already ruined. Why do you still want to acknowledge me? Because no one loves Yen Hao more than you. Song Wuyo was stunned. I watched you grow up. How can I not know your character? Old Master Goo's tone was kind. Song Wuyo smiled gratefully. Thank you, Grandpa. If you want to thank me, don't sign it. Old Master Goo sighed and said, I am old. You will take care of that boy in the future. Grandpa, you must be joking. Gu Yanhao had many people to take care of him. Old Master Gu's expression changed and he looked at Song Wuyo sternly. I am serious. I won't allow you to get a divorce. Didn't they say that you agreed? Nonsense. Old Master Gu said angrily. Yen Hao is lying to you. Ha, so that's how it is. In order to get me to sign it, he lied to me and said that Grandpa agreed. Grandpa, don't worry. I won't sign it easily. Song Wuyo smiled, but she thought coldly in her heart, Gu Yanhao, the more you want me to sign it, the more I won't sign it. It's good that you can stick to your love. Old Master Gu held Song Wuyo's hand and smiled kindly. One day, Yanhao will be like Grandpa and do good to you. Song Juyue and Song Jumei stood in the distance and looked over. Seeing that Old Master Gu was holding Song Wuyo's hand and seemed to be chatting happily, a hint of jealousy flashed past Song Juyue's eyes. I really don't understand why Grandpa Gu likes that bitch Song Wuyo so much, Song Jumei said angrily. A bitch has her own tricks. Song Juyue felt very uncomfortable when she saw that Old Master Gu was so nice to Song Wuyo. Gu Yanhao was very obedient to him. He would marry whichever woman he wanted him to. If she forbade him from getting a divorce, he would not get a divorce. Old Master Gu liked Song Wuyo so much. Naturally, he would not agree to Gu Yanhao and Song Wuyo's divorce. Ever since the media reported that she hit me, her reputation has worsened. Why does Grandpa Gu still like her so much? Song Jumei became even angrier. Like I said, bitches have their own ways. Song Juyue was obviously very angry. Song Jumei's eyes suddenly turned cold. Looks like I have to use my last move. Song Juyue asked, what do you want to do? Song Jumei smiled sinisterly. You'll know when the time comes. Song Juyue warned, don't do anything rash. After all, the Gu and Song families are friends. Song Jumei said, I'm only targeting Song Wuyo. It won't affect the relationship between the two families. After dinner, everyone was free to have fun. Mrs. Song started playing cards with the ladies who were usually good friends. Some businessmen gathered together to discuss economic issues. At this moment, an old friend of Song Nan's asked someone to deliver a very special gift, a Kong Ho. It was a phoenix-shaped Kong Ho that looked a little like a zither. It was very beautiful and exquisite. Its arrival instantly attracted the admiration of many people. How does it play? Is it a zither? Chapter 43. The ladies who were playing mahjong with Mrs. Song gathered around and said. Although Mrs. Song did not know how to play the zither, her two daughters had learned the piano and violin. She looked at the exquisite Kong Ho and liked it very much. She gently placed her hands on the strings and said smartly, it's a zither, an expensive zither. I heard that Miss Song knows how to play the zither. Why don't we let her play in front of us? someone suggested. Mrs. Song raised her head and glanced at Gu Yenhao and Old Master Gu. Jiuyue, I remember that Grandpa Gu likes to listen to zither music. Since there are so many friends and relatives here today, why don't you play for them as a birthday present for your father? Actually, Song Jiuyue was already itching to play the zither when she saw it. Other than designing clothes, she also liked music. She knew how to play the piano, violin, and zither. When she was free, she would play music and look for inspiration to design. Now that she heard Mrs. Song's words, she looked at everyone embarrassedly. I only know a little about zither. Sister, you're too humble. I know best whether you know how to play the zither or not. As Song Jiumei spoke, she had already pushed Song Jiuyue forward. Song Jiuyue smiled and glanced at Gu Yenhao, who was sitting on the sofa with Song Wuyo. They were looking at her. Song Jiuyue thought to herself that she had to perform perfectly in front of young Master Gu and Grandpa Gu. She wanted to let them know that she was better than Song Wuyo. She also wanted to let them know that Song Wuyo was nothing but a pretty face and a good figure. She wanted to make Song Wuyo feel even more inferior and useless. She wanted to let her see clearly that she was not good enough for young Master Gu. Mrs. Song came over and took Song Jiuyue's hand. She smiled and said, I haven't heard you play the zither in a long time. This zither was given by your Uncle Yang. Although it was a birthday present for your father, I think he gave it to you. Don't disappoint your Uncle Yang. You have to perform well today. The word performance had many meanings. Then, I'll embarrass myself. Song Jiuyue sat elegantly in front of the zither table. She was slender and elegant with a sweet smile, which made Song Nan's friends want their sons to marry her. Those who did not have daughters all wanted to acknowledge her as their goddaughter. Song Jiuyue raised her arm and gently stroked the strings with her slender fingers. Suddenly, his expression stiffened. There was something wrong with the sound of the zither. She maintained her smile and gently stroked him again. Strange, what's going on? She looked at the strings and realized that the strings were different from the zither strings she usually played. The thickness and length of the strings were all different, and the number of strings was also different. She then gently stroked the other strings, only to discover that the strings that were originally in the same position as the guzheng produced a very different sound. Upon closer inspection, Song Jiuyue felt that it was not a guzheng. She raised her head and was about to tell everyone that it was not a guzheng when she suddenly met Old Master Gu's expectant gaze. She was stunned. Was she going to disappoint him? She shifted her gaze to Gu Yenhao. He leaned against the sofa elegantly and looked at her with a faint smile. He seemed to be waiting to admire her performance. She glanced at everyone present. They were all looking at her. Now that she said that she did not know how to play the zither, would they be disappointed? Would they laugh at her? Chapter 44. If someone were to ask her what guqin this was, how would she answer? Uncle Yang was really too much. Why didn't he inform her in advance that he was going to deliver the guqin? He should at least let her know what guqin it was. Song Jiuyue looked at the guqin in front of her. She couldn't figure out what it was. Jiuyue, why aren't you playing? Everyone is waiting, Mrs. Song urged when she saw that Song Jiuyue was still not playing. The strings of this guqin are a little complicated, Song Jiuyue said to everyone embarrassedly. A little complicated. What do you mean? Mrs. Song came forward and asked curiously, aren't you very familiar with the guqin? What strings are so complicated that you can't play them? Mom, I only know a little. I'm not very familiar with them, Song Jiuyue frowned and a look of displeasure flashed across her beautiful eyes when no one could see it. Mrs. Song stood to the side and looked down at the guqin in front of her. Is it a guqin? Song Jiuyue wasn't too sure either. It's a guqin, right? When Mrs. Song heard this, she immediately knew that her daughter didn't know how to play the guqin. Her expression changed slightly. It should be a very special guqin. She wanted to give Song Jiuyue a way out of the embarrassing situation. Yes, it is. Song Jiuyue nodded. After Song Wuyo heard this, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up into a mocking sneer. Didn't they say that Song Jiuyue was a talented and beautiful woman? She didn't even recognize the guqin in front of her. It was fine if she didn't recognize it, but she still pretended to know and insisted on playing it. What a joke. Gu Yanhao, who was sitting next to her, tilted his head and glanced at her. He was stunned when he saw that her gaze was fixated on the guqin and the sneer on her lips. Song Wuyo was even more unfamiliar to him now. The smile on her lips was cold and there was a hint of mockery in her eyes. Her aura was stronger than any other woman present. It was as if she knew and understood everything. Song Jiuyue wanted to stop playing, but when she looked up at Gu Yanhao, she found that he was staring at Song Wuyo. Her heart suddenly clenched. Her gaze slowly turned towards Song Wuyo, only to meet Song Wuyo's cold and sarcastic gaze. Song Jiuyue was stunned. When she saw Song Wuyo's expression, she thought of a provocation and a joke. She gritted her teeth. This Song Wuyo actually dared to provoke her and laugh at her. Song Jiumei saw the change in Song Jiuyue's expression and followed her gaze. Song Jiumei frowned. Is this bitch trying to embarrass my sister? Suddenly, Song Jiumei's eyes lit up. She said to everyone, let's listen to my sister Wuyo's performance. The music she plays can be said to be the sound of nature. When Song Jiumei said this, everyone's gaze turned towards Song Wuyo. As soon as Song Jiumei finished speaking, the mocking smile on Song Wuyo's face disappeared. She put on a nervous and evasive expression and looked at Song Jiumei in shock. Mrs. Song knew from her expression that she didn't know how to play. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. After glancing at her, he calmly looked at Song Jiumei. Is this woman trying to embarrass my wife in front of everyone on purpose? Others didn't know if Song Wuyo knew how to play the piano, but Gu Yanhao knew. Other than pestering him, Song Wuyo didn't know how to play the piano. Wuyo, come and play a song for everyone. Song Jiumei walked over and pulled Song Wuyo up. She doesn't know how to play. Gu Yanhao suddenly reached out and grabbed Song Wuyo's arm. He coldly looked at Song Jiumei. Chapter 45. Song Wuyo was caught between a rock and a hard place. When Song Jiumei met Gu Yanhao's cold gaze, she could not help but feel a chill down her spine. However, when she thought that Song Wuyo would be embarrassed in front of so many people later, she mustered up her courage and smiled brightly at Gu Yanhao. Young Master Gu, Wuyo knows how to do it. She said that she knows everything my sister knows. She knows what my sister doesn't know. Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao with an expression that said, you have to help me. Gu Yanhao glanced at her, then looked coldly at Song Jiumei. If I say she doesn't know how to do it, she doesn't know how to do it. When Song Jiumei saw Song Wuyo's expression, she wanted to tease her even more. She more or less understood Song Wuyo. She let go of Song Wuyo's hand and deliberately provoked her. Wuyo, don't tell me you don't even know how to play the zither. Didn't you say in the past that you were better than big sister in everything? Isn't this a good opportunity? Song Wuyo looked hesitant. Song Jiumei saw Song Wuyo's hesitation, so she leaned forward and said with a smile, I knew it. You don't know anything. Other than being arrogant, you're still arrogant. She controlled her voice very well. Other than Gu Yanhao, no one else could hear her clearly. Who said that? When Song Wuyo heard this, she suddenly glared at Song Jiumei unhappily. Who said that I only know how to be arrogant and don't know anything? Seeing her reaction, Song Jume was amused. She knew that Song Wuyo could not stand others provoking her. She could not stand others comparing her to Song Juyue. She was very angry when compared. When Gu Yanhao heard this, he narrowed his eyes and looked coldly at Song Wuyo. You know how to play the zither, don't you? Song Jume asked with a smile. Song Wuyo raised her chin proudly. It's just a zither. Why wouldn't I know how to play it? Song Wuyo, that's enough. Gu Yanhao pulled her back to the sofa and warned her coldly, control your weird temper. If you don't know how to do it, just admit it. Why are you pretending? Is being able to play the zither a bad temper? Song Wuyo blinked and pretended to be puzzled. It was cute and annoying at the same time. Even Song Juyue can't play it. How can you play it? Gu Yanhao said coldly. That was not a zither at all. When Song Wuyo heard this, she sneered in her heart. In his heart, what Song Juyue couldn't do, couldn't she? Hearing his words, Song Juyue, who was sitting in front of the piano, had an awkward expression on her face. She can't play it, but that doesn't mean I can't either. Song Wuyo shook off Gu Yanhao's hand and suddenly stood up and walked toward Song Juyue. She said angrily, today, I'll let you know that I can play this zither. Humph. She was as arrogant as she could be. She gave off the feeling of a clown. Juyue, get up. Before Song Wuyo arrived, Mrs. Song hurriedly pulled Song Juyue up. She glanced at Song Wuyo smugly from the corner of her eyes. This bitch is looking for trouble again. She's going to embarrass herself. Gu Yanhao's eyes were cold. In the depths that no one else could see, there was a complicated look that flashed past. He looked coldly at Song Wuyo. This damn woman. How can I get rid of this arrogant and bad temper? Song Juyue stood up and made room for Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo happily sat down in front of the piano, as if she was going on stage to receive an award. Looking at the zither in front of her, she curled her lips into an appreciative smile. Just by looking at the body of the zither, she knew that it was a good zither. She raised her hand and strummed the strings. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Chapter 46. An ear-piercing sound rang out, and everyone frowned. The music was good, but the tune was messy. When everyone heard such a tune, they naturally thought that Song Wuyo did not know how to play it. A few ladies who had a good relationship with Mrs. Song Wuyo could not help but say this to Song Wuyo. Forget it, forget it. If you don't know how to play it, then don't play it. Isn't this sound raping my ears? She's like this. She wants to show off and doesn't know how to pretend. She's just playing randomly. Does she know how to play it? Song Jiumei crossed her arms and looked at Song Wuyo smugly. Song Wuyo glared at these ladies. Who said I don't know how to play it? I was just testing the zither. With that, Song Wuyo glanced at Gu Yanhao. Gu Yanhao looked at her coldly with an expressionless face. Ha, he must be very angry now, right? When everyone heard Song Wuyo's words, they felt that Song Wuyo was not only arrogant, but also ignorant and liked to show off. If you know how to play it, then play it quickly. We can't wait to hear it. A lady urged in a tone that sounded like she was watching a show. Song Wuyo replied, "What's the hurry? Let me see this zither clearly." Song Wuyo lowered her head as if she was looking at the zither. In fact, she recalled the song she often played in her previous life. When she returned to the military camp during the war, she liked to play "The Last Banana Leaf" for her comrades. This was a song that stirred people's hearts and made them miss their hometown. After being made a concubine, she liked to play Night Rain. Night Rain was a very sad song. Every time she played it, she could not help but cry. With so many people looking at her, she naturally did not want to play Night Rain. She did not want them to see her sad expression. Wuyo, this zither string is very complicated. I only know a little about it. It doesn't matter if you don't understand. We won't laugh at you. Song Juyue saw that Song Wuyo didn't play for a long time, so she said very considerately. On the surface, she seemed to be helping Song Wuyo, but in reality, she was insulting Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo slowly raised her head and looked at Song Juyue unhurriedly. She even smiled brightly. I only know a little about it. Stop fooling around, come down. Song Nan did not want to see his arrogant daughter continue to lose face. He looked sternly at Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo raised her chin slightly and swept her gaze across the scene unhurriedly. Other than Grandpa Gu's kind face and Gu Yanhao's cold face, everyone else's expressions were obviously mocking her. Song Wuyo secretly said to the body's original owner, "It's time to let them know that you're not an idiot." Song Wuyo's gaze fell on Gu Yanhao. Didn't you always think that Song Juyue was better than me in all aspects? Song Wuyo smiled faintly and her 10 fingers on the zither strings gently moved. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly as she looked at Gu Yanhao with a smile that was not a smile. That gaze was so indifferent, yet so cold and arrogant. Gu Yanhao frowned slightly. Why was this woman looking at him with such an expression? Why was her gaze so cold and even had a trace of hatred? Was it an illusion? Was it an illusion? Gu Yanhao could not help but think about what happened next. Because, as Song Wuyo's 10 fingers moved gently on the zither strings, a low melody sounded. The moment the melody sounded, the scene became very quiet. A slow and leisurely sound of the zither seemed to flow out from a flute. Chapter 47. The strings of notes were like a small stream at the beginning of spring, emitting a spiritual charm that plucked at everyone's nerves. It also felt like it was flowing through one's soul. It was extremely comfortable and wonderful, making one fantasize about the beautiful scenery of the mountains and rivers. Gradually, everyone revealed astonished expressions. Song Wuyo, who had always been arrogant, could play such a beautiful tune. Gu Yanhao's cold and handsome face revealed a rare hint of shock. His deep and sharp eyes were rolling with stormy waves. His gaze was fixed on Song Wuyo. The woman's posture was straight, and the way she played the zither was extremely elegant. Her movements were light and graceful. It was as if she often played this type of zither and was very familiar with it. The beautiful notes seemed to not shatter even if they were hit against a mountain rock. It made people see all things in the world awaken. The leisurely tune changed, and the previously leisurely music suddenly became heavy, distant, and boundless. As they listened, it was as if it was recounting someone's bloody and tearful history. Everyone was shocked by such a tune. Old Master Gu's face had a shocked smile. The stormy waves in Gu Yanhao's eyes were rolling more and more violently. Listening to such a tune, an image appeared in his mind: the afterglow of the setting sun, the empty land, and the slightly cool setting sun dyed the sky and earth orange. A group of lean men, draped in clothes made of banana leaves, held spears in their hands, and painted faces. They were singing and dancing, holding a sacred and ancient sacrificial ballad. Song Jumei's expression changed from shock to disbelief, and finally to anger. Was the woman playing in front of the zither really Song Wuyo? How could she play such a beautiful and earth-shattering tune? Song Juyue's face was filled with surprise, but her heart was filled with jealousy. Especially when she saw Gu Yanhao staring at Song Wuyo, she really wanted to go forward and stop Song Wuyo and stop her from playing. Song Wuyo, this bitch, when did she learn how to play the zither? At the end of the song, Song Wuyo gently placed her hands on the zither. She lowered her eyes, her long eyelashes hiding the emotions in her eyes. When she raised her head again, her gaze had returned to normal, arrogant and haughty. At this moment, Gu Yanhao was looking at her with joy in his eyes. Old Master Gu's eyes were full of love for her. Wuyo, I thought you didn't even know how to play the piano. How can you play the guzheng? Song Jiuyue stepped forward and asked in a somewhat tense tone. Song Wuyo stood up. Big sister, I thought you didn't even know how to play the gongho. How can you play the piano? Song Wuyo's words made Song Jiuyue choke. Song Jiuyue didn't expect that she would ask her such a question. She scolded her in her heart. Song Wuyo walked up to her with light steps. Her voice was neither soft nor loud, but everyone present could hear her clearly. Big sister, actually, this zither isn't a guzheng. It's a gongho. Guzheng and gongho, Song Wuyo knew how to play the piano. What the hell was that? Gongho. Song Jiuyue's expression changed slightly. She looked at Song Wuyo in surprise. How do you know it's a gongho? Song Wuyo found it funny. I know how to play it. How can I not know? Moreover, this was a zither with a long history. It was an antique. Song Wuyo's words made Song Jiuyue feel very embarrassed. She secretly gritted her teeth. She felt that Song Wuyo had given her a hard slap in the face in front of everyone. Song Jiuyue suppressed the displeasure in her heart and looked at Song Wuyo with a smile. When did you learn it? Song Wuyo walked right past her. Why should I tell you? Chapter 48. Being treated like this, especially by Song Wuyo, Song Jiuyue was furious. But there were so many people around today, so she did not dare to vent her anger on Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo went directly to Old Master Gu and asked with a smile, Grandpa, is the song I played nice? Old Master Gu was very happy and said with a smile, it's nice. Wuyo, you're really good at hiding things. Song Wuyo smiled modestly. Grandpa said that one should keep a low profile. Yes. One should keep a low profile. But when had she ever kept a low profile? One should keep a high profile. After Old Master Gu finished speaking, he pulled Song Wuyo over. Yanhao, bring Wuyo back to the old mansion more often and let her play songs for me. Got it, Grandpa. Gu Yanhao looked at Song Wuyo and said. If Grandpa likes to listen to it, I'll move back to the old mansion. Song Wuyo smiled. When Gu Yanhao heard this, his eyes narrowed. He had just opened his thin lips when Old Master Gu beat him to it. You silly child, how can you move back to the old mansion? You have to live with Yanhao. Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yanhao. She was afraid that he did not want to live with her. Mrs. Gu, what song did you play just now? The song just now was really nice. Can you teach my daughter? At this time, a few women surrounded Song Wuyo and smiled mischievously, wanting to please him. They all said that Song Wuyo was arrogant and domineering, but today they saw that she did not seem like it. Especially the way she played the zither. She was like a fairy sitting on the clouds, as beautiful as a fairy. It's called the last banana slice. If I'm free, I can teach you. Song Wuyo answered with dignity and elegance. Didn't they say that she was rude and uncultured? She wanted them to slap their own faces. When the lady heard this, she was very happy. Then can you give me your phone number? Song Wuyo embarrassedly smiled. I lost my phone in the car accident, and I haven't bought a new one yet. How about this, I'll give you my maid's number. When Gu Yanhao heard this, his eyes darkened and he looked coldly at Song Wuyo. A trace of displeasure flashed across his eyes. Shouldn't she leave her husband's phone number with them? Song Woo-yo suddenly became the focus of everyone's attention. She seemed to have stolen the limelight, which made Song Jo-yue very unhappy. She turned sideways and stared coldly at Song Woo-yo. She cursed in her heart, "Bitch. Woo-yo, I didn't expect you to know how to play the kongho. You're amazing." Song Jo-mei walked over with wine in her hands and smiled. She handed a glass of wine to Song Woo-yo and said with a smile, "This is a high-proof brandy. Do you dare to try it?" What a joke. In her previous life, when she was tired, she would drink large bowls of soju wine. She took the wine glass and faintly smiled. "How about a toast?" Song Jo-mei's smile became even brighter. Song Woo-yo looked at Song Jo-mei with a faint smile. The previous owner still had her memories. With the previous owner's understanding of Song Jo-mei, Song Jo-mei would not smile so brightly at her. Something was strange. Song Woo-yo slowly looked at the wine glass in her hand. She narrowed her eyes and seemed to be thinking of something. Seeing her expression, Song Jo-mei thought that she did not dare to drink high-proof wine. "Woo-yo, don't tell me you don't even dare to drink brandy." She was trying to provoke her again. "Who said I don't dare to drink it?" Song Woo-yo looked up and unhappily stared at Song Jo-mei. "Do I, Song Woo-yo, look like someone with such courage? Since you dare to drink it, let's toast." Song Jo-mei's wine glass clinked against Song Woo-yo's. "She hasn't fully recovered yet, so she can't drink." Just as Song Woo-yo was about to drink, Gu Yanhao went forward to take her wine glass. Chapter 49. When Song Jo-mei saw Gu Yanhao's actions, she was so shocked that she almost wanted to stop him. Her expression changed. Song Woo-yo happened to see her change. Song Woo-yo sneered in her heart. This glass of wine was really strange. Song Woo-yo turned her body slightly to avoid him. She smiled at him. "I like to drink it." "You're not allowed to drink it." Gu Yanhao looked at her coldly. His determination startled Song Jo-mei. Song Woo-yo smiled. "It's just a glass of wine. Wretched woman, you're not fully recovered yet. You're not allowed to drink such strong wine." "Young Master Gu, this wine is not strong." Song Jo-mei tried to make herself smile gently and generously. However, her words did not attract Gu Yanhao's attention at all. Gu Yanhao's gaze was fixed on Song Woo-yo. Song Woo-yo smiled sweetly. "Are you concerned about me?" Gu Yanhao was slightly stunned by her question. Was he concerned about her? When did he start to care about her body? A hint of embarrassment flashed past Gu Yanhao's ears. He quickly snatched the wine glass from Song Woo-yo's hand and said uncomfortably, "What's wrong with a husband caring about his wife?" With that, he raised his head and drank the wine in one gulp. Song Jo-mei saw that and could not stop him in time. Her hand that had just been raised froze in mid-air when she saw Gu Yanhao's Adam's apple moving up and down. Young Master Gu, he drank it. Song Jo-mei felt endless fear in that instant. Song Woo-yo was pleased to see her strange expression. "Take it away." Gu Yanhao stuffed the wine glass into Song Jo-mei's frozen hand and glanced at her coldly. A trace of disdain flashed past his eyes. Song Jo-mei held the wine glass tightly and stood there, not knowing what to do for a moment. Song Woo-yo looked at her, blinked, and said with a smile, "I don't know if my husband drinking for me counts." When she called him husband, Gu Yanhao's heart was filled with tenderness. The man's eyes flashed slightly. He didn't seem to hate the word husband from her mouth. Seeing that his grandson was so concerned about Song Woo-yo, old Master Gu smiled. However, Song Jo-yue looked as if she could not take it anymore. She clenched her fists tightly, turned around, and went upstairs. She was afraid that she would lose her composure in front of everyone. If that happened, her elegant image as a young lady would be ruined. I'll go greet the other relatives. Song Jo-maid glanced at Song Jo-yue's figure from the corner of her eyes and came back to her senses. She stammered and quickly followed after Song Jo-yue. Oh no, oh no. She had committed a heinous crime. She had to find Song Jo-yue to save her. Go back, Gu Yanhao said coldly as he looked at Song Woo-yo. His tone was commanding. Okay. Song Woo-yo smiled, said goodbye to old Master Gu, and followed Gu Yanhao out of the Song family villa. Everyone looked at their backs. Some people shook their heads and sighed. Didn't they say that Mrs. Gu has poor manners and a bad temper? Why doesn't she look like it? Although she's not wearing branded clothes, her figure, skin, and temperament are excellent. She's not as bad as the rumors say. How can she be a bad person to be chosen by old Master Gu and become the daughter-in-law of the Gu family? I think someone is jealous and deliberately spread rumors. Perhaps. Which daughter of a wealthy family doesn't have a temper? Our Lon Lon gets angry easily. Hearing the group of people talking about Song Woo-yo, Mrs. Song's face darkened. She almost chased them away. Song Woo-yo was sitting in the front passenger seat of the Maybach. She turned her head and watched Gu Yanhao drive with a hint of curiosity and doubt. Chapter 50. Gu Yanhao put his hands on the steering wheel and easily controlled the entire car. Handsome people were handsome in everything they did, even driving. But, Song Woo-yo frowned. She clearly retained the memory of the original owner, so why was she so unfamiliar with driving? After leaving the hospital, she had always taken a taxi and sat in the back seat. Now that she was sitting in the front passenger seat and watching Gu Yanhao drive up close, she actually felt that it was very novel. Do you want to drive? Gu Yanhao saw that she kept staring at him, the steering wheel and pedals, so he asked in a deep voice. No. Song Woo-yo retracted her gaze and looked elsewhere. When did you learn to play the kongho? He glanced at her. A long time ago. When was that? 5 years ago. Song Woo-yo casually lied. How old were you 5 years ago? How old am I now? 21. Ha. Song Woo-yo's eyes flashed with a touch of complexity. I thought you didn't know how old I was. Haven't you been pestering me all day after you met me? How did you have time to learn the kongho? Gu Yanhao glanced at her. Do you want me to pester you all day? Have you ever noticed what I do usually? Song Woo-yo laughed self-deprecatingly. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows and the atmosphere suddenly became a little strange. Song Woo-yo didn't break the silence and turned her head to look out of the window. You played The Last Banana Leaf today. Yeah. Song Woo-yo nodded. Such nice notes should be a famous song. Why haven't I heard the name of this song before? Gu Yanhao narrowed his eyes and said thoughtfully. I composed it myself, Song Woo-yo said. Gu Yanhao tilted his head and looked at her deeply. You know how to arrange songs. Song Woo-yo turned her head and smiled at him. I know a lot of things. Gu Yanhao curled his lips into an enigmatic smile. Song Woo-yo didn't know what he was thinking, and she didn't want to know. Not only did she want to clear her name in his heart, but she also wanted to clear her name in front of everyone else. It seems that I have to get to know you again. Gu Yanhao's phoenix eyes were deep as he stared ahead. As you wish. But I don't want to get to know you again. There was no need to get to know him again. He was still him, and she was no longer her. Gu Yanhao sneered. He reached out and turned up the air conditioner. After a while, Song Wuyo, who was wearing a dress, felt very cold. She rubbed her arms. It's so cold. Gu Yanhao glanced at her. Are you cold? But he felt so hot. Song Wuyo frowned. She was feeling a little uncomfortable from the cold. Gu Yanhao glanced at her. Seeing that she was wearing a short-sleeved dress and thinking that she had not fully recovered, his eyes flashed. In the end, he took off his coat and put it on her. Seeing that he was controlling the steering wheel with one hand and taking off his coat with the other, Song Wuyo was startled. What are you doing? Not long after, he handed over his jacket. The scent that belonged to him was close at hand, lingering at the tip of her nose. Put it on. He felt hot and didn't want to turn off the air conditioner. I'm not wearing it. Song Wuyo turned her body away and didn't take his coat. In the past, he didn't even care about her when she was sick. Now that she was cold, he was taking off his coat for her like a gentleman. Was he caring about her? But she didn't care anymore. Put it on. Gu Yanhao threw his coat on her lap and said in a domineering tone. He frowned. Damn it, why was it getting hotter after he took off his coat? Chapter 51. Song Wuyo pursed her lips and put on his jacket. She looked at him in annoyance. If you care about me, you shouldn't have turned the air conditioner on so high. I'm hot. Gu Yanhao said irritably. As if she could hear his annoyance, Song Wuyo looked at him for a few seconds. The air conditioner was on so high, and he was still hot. Gu Yanhao felt hotter and hotter, and he tugged at his tie in annoyance. Song Wuyo saw that his handsome face was abnormally red and asked, Did you drink a lot at the Song residence? I drank a glass on your behalf. Gu Yanhao said impatiently. When Song Wuyo heard that, she instantly understood what was going on. When he asked her how she knew how to play the gongho, she had forgotten about Song Jiumei's glass of wine. Song Jiumei's abnormal expression when she saw Gu Yanhao drink that glass of wine appeared before her eyes. She was even more certain that there was something wrong with that glass of wine. You're so hot from just a glass of wine. Song Wuyo pretended not to know anything and said disdainfully. Gu Yanhao ignored Song Wuyo and tugged at his tie in annoyance. He wanted to turn up the air conditioner, but he realized that the air conditioner had already been turned to the maximum and could not be adjusted any further. He rolled down the window and sped up. The wind outside blew in. Instantly, their hair was messed up. Song Wuyo pressed down on her long hair that was blown up by the wind and glared at Gu Yanhao. Gu Yanhao, close the window. The wind is giving me a headache. She did not know if it was because this body lacked exercise or because she had not fully recovered from her injury, but she was very weak. Gu Yanhao looked at her and saw that she was frowning as if she was enduring a trace of pain. His eyes darkened. He rolled up the window, and his gaze became incomparably deep. His annoyance became more and more obvious. Although the wind outside was strong, it did not make him feel cold. Instead, it made him feel even hotter. When he closed the window, the air conditioner blew in, and it was a little cold. However, this coldness soon disappeared because he felt his body temperature rising higher and higher, his thin lips were pursed into a line, and his brows were furrowed. He looked very uncomfortable. Not only did he feel hot, even his neck felt coarse, and he kept pulling at his tie. Seeing his reaction, Song Wuyo asked pointedly, could it be that there's something wrong with Song Jiumei's wine? Creak! As soon as Song Wuyo finished speaking, a sudden ear-piercing sound of wheels rubbing against the ground came from the road. Due to the sudden emergency brake, Song Wuyo's body slammed forward and her forehead hit the front of the car. Before she could feel the pain, she was pulled back by the seatbelt, and her whole body bounced back. Her whole back slammed heavily against the back of the seat. This was a kind of centrifugal action, and Song Wuyo suddenly felt dizzy. She glared at Gu Yanhao. Just as she was about to scold him, she was shocked by the body that suddenly covered her. Before she could show her fierce look, she looked at the handsome face with fear and caution. Gu Yanhao, what are you doing? What did you say just now? Gu Yanhao asked in a low and sinister voice. His gaze was extremely dangerous. His breath blew on Song Wuyo's face, and she felt extremely hot. Song Wuyo swallowed her saliva and said faintly, I said, could it be that there's something wrong with that glass of wine? Gu Yanhao's pupils contracted, and then he narrowed his eyes and stared at Song Wuyo. Her face was rosy, her lips were bright red, and her eyes were bright and sparkling. Gu Yanhao suddenly felt that she was very attractive. No, she was very seductive. Chapter 52. With this thought, Gu Yanhao suddenly felt his mouth go dry, and his body temperature suddenly rose. His gaze became even more heated, and Song Wuyo was a little flustered. Song Wuyo leaned back, even though he knew that there was nowhere to escape behind the back of the chair. Her avoidance aroused the evil fire in Gu Yanhao's body. He felt even hotter and more uncomfortable. His gaze was fixed on Song Wuyo's lips. Song Wuyo blinked, and her long eyelashes trembled. He couldn't be thinking of doing that to her, right? Gu Yanhao suddenly closed his eyes and took a deep breath. The faint fragrance that belonged to Song Wuyo wafted into his nose, and it made his evil fire burn fiercely. You drive. Gu Yanhao sat up straight and tried to let his rationality defeat the evil fire. His body's reaction told him that he had been drugged. No, Song Wuyo had been drugged, and he had drunk that glass of wine for her. Now, he had to bear this pain. Song Wuyo looked at the steering wheel, and her mind went blank. She only knew that she could ride a horse, but she couldn't drive. Gu Yanhao was very impatient. He turned around and did not look at her. She was his wife, and he was not afraid of using her as the antidote now. However, he remembered that she had just suffered a miscarriage, and her body had not recovered yet. Under the strong effects of the drug, her body would be destroyed by him. He was not a beast to that extent. I don't know how to drive, Song Wuyo said instinctively after being yelled at by him. When Gu Yanhao heard this, he turned around abruptly. His deep eyes were bloodshot, and he looked bloodthirsty. He stared at Song Wuyo, and his low and hoarse voice was obviously angry. Song Wuyo, do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? She didn't know how to drive. She had driven a few expensive sports cars in his villa before. Although there was a limited edition car that was destroyed by her, it was not to the extent that she did not know how to drive. Meeting his bloodthirsty eyes, Song Wuyo inexplicably panicked. She panicked, and her mind went blank, and she could not remember how to drive. She stared at the steering wheel in a daze. Song Wuyo, you pretended that you didn't know how to drive. Do you want me to eat you in the car? Gu Yanhao suddenly pinched Song Wuyo's chin, and looked at her dangerously. Eat, I'll let you eat me. Song Wuyo was in pain from being pinched. You damned woman. Gu Yanhao scolded in a low voice, his tone full of anger. Can't she have self-respect? She pretended not to know how to drive so that he could sleep with her here. Did she ever think that her body wouldn't be able to take it? Hearing him angrily scold her, Song Wuyo's heart felt bitter. She gave a bitter smile, and her heart felt inexplicably sad. Gu Yanhao, you've been drugged with an aphrodisiac, and you still don't want me? Did he really dislike her that much? You really did pretend that you didn't know how to drive. Do you want me to want you now? When Gu Yanhao heard this, he was filled with anger. The anger and evil fire made him even more irritated and uncomfortable. He wanted to kill someone right now. I just don't know how to drive. Song Wuyo raised her chin and arrogantly looked at him. I'll say it again, drive. Immediately send me back. You can call your bodyguard. Song Wuyo looked into his eyes and softly said. She cherished herself very much, so she would not be his antidote. It was just that the previous host's love for him was too strong, and it could not be erased in a short period of time. So, seeing that he was drugged and did not want her, her heart felt sad. Chapter 53. Gu Yanhao was so uncomfortable that he was about to lose control of his rationality. He reached out and grabbed Song Wuyo's throat, but he tried his best to control himself. He looked at her with a sinister gaze. Do you really want me to do you in the car? Song Wuyo looked at him directly. I'm not that cheap. I think you're cheap to the bone. Gu Yanhao said coldly. You can think whatever you want. Song Wuyo pushed his hand away. Drive. Gu Yanhao ordered her again. He was so uncomfortable that he was about to lose control. If she did not drive, he might really take her. I'll get someone to drive for you. Song Wuyo was about to unbuckle her seatbelt when she felt a grip on her wrist. Looking down, she saw a big hand holding her tightly. Song Wuyo looked up and bumped into Gu Yanhao's sinister, cold, and bloodthirsty eyes. She instantly felt a chill down her spine and looked at him blankly. I think you're addicted to playing hard to get. All right, I'll satisfy you. The man's voice was low and hoarse, but it was cold and had a hint of sarcasm. No. The last two words were swallowed up completely. The man lowered his head and grabbed Song Wuyo's mouth and sucked hard. This kiss was urgent and had a little bit of venting emotions. Song Wuyo was bitten by him until it hurt. Song Wuyo was stunned and her brain crashed. He kissed her again. He pried open her teeth and his tongue forced its way in, messing up her territory. Song Wuyo's body was a little limp from the kiss. The man's hot palm was unruly on her body. When that hot hand came to her chest, Song Wuyo, whose brain had crashed, shuddered. No. She struggled to push away Gu Yanhao, who couldn't control himself. She could feel that the man's body temperature was frighteningly high. Even the air conditioner in the car was turned to the maximum, and it was filled with his temperature, making it stuffy. It was a powerful drug. No matter how strong Gu Yanhao's willpower was, he was about to collapse. It was still all right just now, but now that he had kissed Song Wuyo's lips and touched her body, the evil fire in his body was like a flood that had broken through a dam. It surged violently and could not be suppressed. The more Song Wuyo pushed him away, the more he wanted her. He, who still had a bit of consciousness, thought that Song Wuyo was trying to play hard to get with him. Since she liked to play this kind of games so much, he would satisfy her. Who asked him to be so miserable right now? Damn it. Song Wuyo cursed in her heart. Why was it that the more she resisted, the more unbridled this man's actions became? His body was tall and strong, so she couldn't struggle at all. The man pressed his body down and pinned her to the seat. His hands were getting more and more reckless, and he was even tugging at her skirt. When Gu Yanhao's thin lips landed on Song Wuyo's neck, Song Wuyo felt itchy and weak. This couldn't do. Song Wuyo used all her strength, but she couldn't push the man away. What could she do? Who asked her to be so petite and him to be so tall? He was about to tear her clothes, and this body was too weak to resist. In a moment of desperation, Song Wuyo raised and lowered her arms. Chapter 54. Gu Yanhao felt a sharp pain at the back of his neck. His head shook, and his vision turned black. He fainted and fell heavily on Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo panted lightly. She couldn't push the man away for a while. She raised her neck and looked at the roof of the car. Between the man's breaths, his warm breath sprayed on her neck, making her feel upset. Feeling the man's hot body temperature, she couldn't calm down. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of complexity. Actually, he didn't have to drink that glass of wine for her. After taking a few breaths and calming down, Song Wuyo took out the phone from Gu Yanhao and called Ade. 4 hours later. Gu Yanhao wore a white bathrobe and sat coldly on the sofa in the bedroom. His face was quite dark, and his whole body was emitting a frightening chill. He looked extremely cold. Ade stood beside him. Feeling his young master's coldness and the pressure in the air, he pursed his lips and didn't dare to breathe. Ade didn't dare to breathe, but it didn't mean that others didn't dare to breathe. At this moment, Megu, who was sitting on the soft stool, stared at Gu Yanhao like he was watching a monkey. Seeing that Gu Yanhao's face was getting darker, the smile on his handsome face became more and more dazzling. If you don't want to die, go back to your ranch. Gu Yanhao's eyes were cold and gloomy as he stared at the man in front of him. You're chasing me away after using me. Aren't you afraid that you'll hurt my heart? Megu said with a smile. After using him. These words made Gu Yanhao feel very bad. I really want to tear your face apart. He scolded. Why do you want to tear my face apart? Megu patted his handsome face. Are you jealous that I'm more handsome than you? After saying that, he winked at Gu Yanhao like a girl. His dark eyes were like stars, shining brightly. Megu was a very bright and handsome man. He was not afraid of anything. Of course, he would not be afraid of Gu Yanhao. Gu Yanhao looked at him coldly. He wasn't jealous of Megu's handsomeness, but he didn't want to see him smile. His smile was one of schadenfreude. If you laugh again, I'll slaughter all the cows and sheep in your ranch. It was a blatant threat, but Megu wasn't afraid. This was because he knew that Gu Yanhao was just talking about it. He wouldn't act on it. If I hadn't found the antidote for you, who knows how many women's bodies would have been destroyed before you could sit here comfortably, Megu said. When Gu Yanhao heard this, his face turned even darker. My how, you are wise and capable. You guard against people as if they are your enemies. How did you get drugged? Megu raised his eyebrows, restrained his smile, and looked at Gu Yanhao seriously. Only the heavens knew that he was trying his best to hold himself back from laughing out loud. He knew that if he laughed while talking about this topic, he would die a horrible death. It was a slip of the tongue. Gu Yanhao said coldly. A slip of the tongue may cause everlasting sorrow. Don't you know that? Gu Yanhao stared at Megu maliciously. He really wanted to throw this man out. I just don't understand. You already have a wife. If you were drugged, why don't you just fuck her? Why do you still want me here? Shut up. Get lost. Gu Yanhao's ears turned red as he said angrily. I saw Song Wuyo just now. She's not as annoying as the rumors say. Megu smiled and his eyes flashed. She's quite classy. I can't take my eyes off her. What do you mean you can't take your eyes off her? Gu Yanhao's cold eyes became even gloomier. Chapter 55. It's just that the more I look at her, the more I like her. Are you peeking at my wife? You admit that she's your wife. Megu looked at Gu Yanhao in surprise. Gu Yanhao frowned when he heard that. Recalling what he had just said, he was startled. He actually admitted that she was his wife in front of Megu. However, He still had a cold expression on his face, as if it was none of his business even if the sky collapsed. He looked at Magoo with displeasure. "She's my wife," he said coldly. "Since you've admitted it, you should love her and stop thinking about divorce." Gu Yanhao's eyes were deep. "Divorce is for her own good." Of course, Magoo knew what he meant. He looked at Gu Yanhao deeply. "You're afraid that you don't have the ability to protect her." Gu Yanhao was very unhappy when his ability was denied. He stretched out his long leg and kicked towards Magoo. Magoo reacted quickly. Like a spring, he jumped up from the soft stool and avoided Gu Yanhao's whirlwind kick. "Fuck, ho, a gentleman uses his mouth and not his fists. You even used your leg. Are you a gentleman?" Magoo flicked his white jacket and stared at Gu Yanhao unhappily. "I don't need to use my status as a gentleman to deal with you." Gu Yanhao retracted his leg gracefully. "Don't think that I don't know that you like Song Wuyo." Magoo liked to poke at his sore spot. "What has that got to do with you?" "Of course it has to do with me. You like her, but you don't want her when you're drugged. You want me. Tell me, what does that have to do with me? If you say another word, I don't mind letting Ade take care of you." Gu Yanhao looked at Magoo coldly. Ade's eyes flashed as he glanced at Magoo. That expectant look in his eyes was like that of a starving wolf that had seen its prey. He was waiting for the door to open. All right, I won't tease you anymore. Let's do the math. One pill costs 50 million. Magoo sat back down and looked at Gu Yanhao with a smile. Gu Yanhao looked at him coldly. "You're not going to rob a bank. How can the bank have as much money as you? It's more convenient to rob you." Ade made a gesture of drawing his gun. Okay, I surrender, okay." Magoo raised his hands, his peach blossom eyes flashing. He smiled at Gu Yanhao and said, "I don't want money. I want you to come to my ranch for a gathering." Gu Yanhao snappily said, "A bunch of cows, sheep, and horses, what's there to gather?" Magoo's mouth twitched. "This man, I'm not asking you to gather with those cows, sheep, and horses. I've brewed horse milk wine. It's very fragrant. Do you want to drink it?" Gu Yanhao glanced at him coldly. "Why didn't you bring it over? If I brought it over, would you still want to see my cows, sheep, and horses? I'm not free recently. Give me a call when you're free. It's been a long time since we've ridden a horse or played shooting together." Magoo laughed. Gu Yanhao looked a little tired. He leaned on the sofa and said lazily, "You can leave now." "You?" Magoo shook his head helplessly. "Why do I have such a bad friend? I came all the way here to deliver the antidote to you and you didn't even ask me to stay for a meal." Magoo came down from upstairs and saw Song Wuyo elegantly brewing tea under the coffee table. It should be said that she was brewing tea. Her movements were extremely elegant. She sat demurely in front of the coffee table with her head slightly lowered. Her black hair was like an exploding piece of cloth in front of her chest. She raised her hand and put it down. Tea flowed out of the teapot. Her movements were extremely graceful. Chapter 56. The way she brewed the tea was very skillful, as if she had done it often. When Magoo saw this scene, he was so stunned that he stopped in his tracks. He held the handrail and looked at Song Wuyo with bated breath. The blue dress accentuated her perfection and made her skin look even fairer and rosier. Her appearance and dignity were very outstanding. However, what awed Magoo's heart wasn't her appearance, but her tea brewing skills. The woman in front of him knew how to brew tea and her movements were so elegant. She was not as arrogant, willful, unruly, and selfish as the rumors said. The fragrance of the tea lingered in front of his nose. Magoo could not help but take a deep breath. It was so fragrant and rich. After the tea was ready, Song Woo-yo picked up the white porcelain teacup and took a sip. The tea is good, but the tea is not. It's fragrant and rich, but it's not satisfied. Song Woo-yo frowned slightly. It smells so good, Mississippi. Su Jing stood at the side and was stunned. Miss knew how to brew tea. Song Woo-yo smiled and said, "Come and have a drink." Su Jing was very happy. Okay. She walked over and sat down beside Song Woo-yo. Song Woo-yo poured a cup for Su Jing and handed it to her. When she looked up, she inadvertently caught a glimpse of a white figure in the stairwell. Song Woo-yo thought it was Gu Yenhao. When she looked up, it was a handsome face. The other party was looking at her boldly. When their eyes met, he came back to his senses and smiled brightly. The tea is so fragrant. Magoo smiled as he came down. People who know how to taste tea will know how to live. From her comment just now, Magoo knew that the woman in front of him knew a lot about tea. "Do you want a drink?" Song Woo-yo asked with a smile. She knew that he was Gu Yenhao's friend, but she could not remember his name. Of course. Magoo came over and sat beside Song Woo-yo without any restraint. Song Woo-yo gave him a glass. He took a sip and raised his eyebrows. "This is the best tea I've ever tasted." This was the truth. He rarely drank tea and usually drank Marniu wine. Now that he was drinking this cup of tea, it was sweet and mellow, leaving a lingering fragrance in his mouth and teeth. His entire body was filled with energy and extremely refreshing. "Well, miss, the tea you brewed is really delicious." Su Jing took a sip and felt that it was incomparably sweet. "If you like it, then drink more." Song Woo-yo looked at Su Jing with sparkling eyes. Magoo turned his head and happened to see her sparkling eyes and sweet smile. He couldn't help but be stunned. Gu Yenhao, that guy, was really lucky. How selfish could a master who treated his servants well be? Magoo felt that rumors could not be trusted. "Have you learned how to brew tea?" Magoo asked curiously. "Yes." Song Woo-yo nodded. "I learned it when I was bored." "Not bad, not bad." Magoo praised. "The person is beautiful and the tea is fragrant." Song Woo-yo graciously accepted Magoo's praise. Her calmness once again made Magoo sigh with emotion. He had seen countless beautiful women with hot bodies. Even the pampered daughters of wealthy families did not have half of the calmness, elegance, and dignity of this woman in front of him. Magoo came out of Gu Yenhao's bedroom and planned to go home. But after sitting down and chatting with Song Woo-yo, he forgot to go home. Song Woo-yo was a staunch and cheerful woman in her previous life. During the war, she often joked with her brothers. But ever since she was banished to the cold palace, there was no one to chat with her. The original owner was even more pitiful. She didn't even have a friend. Song Woo-yo couldn't remember how long it had been since they had chatted like this. Magoo chatted with her while drinking tea. Unknowingly, the 2 cups of tea had been finished. "Song Woo-yo, why don't you come to my ranch to play?" Magoo looked at Song Woo-yo with his peach blossom eyes. Chapter 57. Now. Song Woo-yo's eyes flashed. She was a little tempted. Was there someone who didn't hate her and was willing to talk to her so much? Moreover, the way he looked at her was full of appreciation and friendliness. Song Woo-yo really didn't want to refuse Magoo's invitation. Any time is fine. Magoo saw that Song Woo-yo didn't refuse, and the smile on his face became even brighter. Song Woo-yo wanted to say yes, but when she thought about how she had to go to the tailor's shop to make clothes for the next 2 days, she smiled embarrassedly. Wait until next week. I'm not free these 2 days. Okay. What's so fun about the ranch? Riding horses, archery, drinking horse milk, and enjoying the beautiful scenery of nature. When she heard about riding horses and archery, Song Wuyo's eyes shone even more brightly, and her hands were a little itchy. Song Wuyo looked at Migu with a smile and said mysteriously, "These are all my favorite things." Migu's charming peach blossom eyes flashed. "That's the best." He moved closer to Song Wuyo and said mysteriously, "These are also my favorite things in life." Song Wuyo tilted her head and looked at him with a smile. Favorite things in life. Migu's eyes moved around Song Wuyo's beautiful face. He smiled and nodded. Yes. Song Wuyo blinked, and her beautiful eyes were filled with suspicion. Isn't it women or money that are your favorite things in life? Women only like my looks and my money. They can't entrust my life's feelings to them. Money is a worldly possession. It can only bring me material satisfaction, but it can't give me spiritual happiness. That's all. That's right. Song Wuyo said jokingly, "Do you like stallions or maras?" Maras. Because they have milk for me to drink. I like horse milk. Song Wuyo giggled. Me too. I didn't expect us to have similar interests. Ha. Gu Yanhao stood in the stairwell and looked at Song Wuyo and Migu talking and chatting. His eyes were malicious and his arrogant eyebrows were raised. This was the first time he had seen Song Wuyo smile so beautifully and so sincerely. His sword-like eyes stared fixedly at Mugu's left arm, which was almost touching Song Wuyo's arm. He was so close to his wife. Was he looking for death? It seemed that both of them felt Gu Yanhao's sharp and cold gaze at the same time. The two men who were laughing looked up at him at the same time. Seeing his cold handsome face, Song Wuyo's smile quickly disappeared. Seeing this man, she lost all her good mood. Migu did not realize his dangerous position at all. He smiled at Gu Yanhao and said, "Ah ho, your wife's tea brewing skills are really good." Gu Yanhao glanced at the tea set on the coffee table coldly. Actually, he also smelled the fragrance of tea. But he did not believe that Song Wuyo knew how to brew tea. He looked at Song Wuyo with a dark gaze. Was this woman the same Song Wuyo from the past? Why are you still standing there? There's still 1 cup left. Come and have a taste. Migu sat up straight and tapped the coffee table gently with his slender fingers, making a soft clicking sound. Why are you still here? Gu Yanhao raised his leg and walked over step by step. His tall body carried a cold aura. Migu said, "It's all because Wuyo's tea is too delicious." Chapter 58. Gu Yanhao asked, "Young Master Migu likes to drink tea too?" Wuyo. Although it sounded natural, it was an eyesore to him. Migu replied, "It's not that I don't like to drink tea, it's just that I have high standards for tea. But this is the first time I've tasted tea as fragrant as the one made by Wuyo." Gu Yanhao's eyes turned cold. Migu liked to drink humus wine. Since there wasn't any, he liked to drink soju. Tea. According to what Gu Yanhao knew, he had only drunk it a few times. Migu was straightforward with his words. For him to praise tea, it must be good tea. Since he praised Song Wuyo's tea, it seemed like Song Wuyo's tea brewing skills were not bad. However, Gu Yanhao felt very uncomfortable when he heard his good friend praising his woman. Before Gu Yanhao arrived, Su Jing hurriedly got up and walked away. Gu Yanhao sat down opposite Song Wuyo and Migu, crossing his long legs lazily. I'll give you 5 seconds to disappear from my house. He looked at Magoo coldly and said coldly. Magoo looked at him pitifully. I haven't had enough. If you don't want your horse to die. You're evil. Magoo stood up and glared at Gu Yenhao with a you-win expression. Then, his expression changed and he looked at Song Wuyo with a smile. Wuyo, remember to call me when you're free. Gu Yenhao's eyes darkened. Magoo, this rascal, seduced his wife in front of him. Song Wuyo replied, I don't have your number. Magoo took out a business card and gave it to her. My phone and landline number are on it. Song Wuyo took the business card and said with a smile, okay. Magoo emphasized again, remember to call me when you have time. Song Wuyo nodded. I understand. Song Wuyo grabbed Magoo's business card and smiled as she watched him leave the living room. Even after Magoo's figure disappeared from her sight, Song Wuyo still hadn't retracted her gaze. It wasn't that he was reluctant to part with it, but that he didn't want to take it back. Why would he take it back? To look at Gu Yenhao's ugly face. The weather outside was so good, and the flowers were so beautiful. But Gu Yenhao didn't think so. He stared at her coldly. He's already gone. What are you still looking at? He's gone, but the smell is still there. Magoo had the smell of nature on him. Song Wuyo. Gu Yenhao gritted his teeth. Song Wuyo's attitude reminded him of one word, provocation. Song Wuyo turned her head slowly and looked at him in confusion. You seem very unhappy. You're actually whispering sweet nothings to another man in front of me. Gu Yenhao stared at Song Wuyo sternly. Song Wuyo blinked and was a little confused. I only brewed 2 cups of tea for Magoo to drink. He praised the fragrance of my tea. How did that become sweet nothings? Gu Yenhao sneered. You know how to brew tea. Song Wuyo looked at him with a smile. Can't I? Gu Yenhao looked at her deeply. What else can you do? Song Wuyo stroked the hair on her neck and smiled at him. I can't remember at the moment. Gu Yenhao said, a car accident has changed you so much. I'm really wondering if you're the old Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo's face turned cold. There's no need to doubt. I'm not the old Song Wuyo. When Su Jing heard that, she looked at Song Wuyo in shock. But Song Wuyo's next words made her feel sad. Song Wuyo looked at Gu Yenhao's cold face quietly. It's not a car accident that has changed me so much. It's your attitude toward me that has disheartened me. Chapter 59. Gu Yenhao pursed his thin lips and looked at Song Wuyo calmly. Song Wuyo continued, in the past, I thought that as long as I made my presence felt in front of you, you would pay attention to me. I didn't expect that it would only make you hate me more and more. Until I got into a car accident and was lying in the hospital, no one in the Song family cared about my life and death. During that period of time, you had already written the divorce agreement. All of you are heartless and cruel people. I have already given up on all of you. Hence, from now on, she would not think about love or kinship anymore. She wanted to live freely, to live happily, and to live with value. When Gu Yenhao heard this, his gaze became extremely deep. He looked at Song Wuyo quietly. At this moment, he seemed to know that the Song Wuyo of the past would never return. Song Wuyo placed Magoo's business card on the coffee table. She picked up the teacup and finished the tea in it. Gu Yenhao glanced coldly at the business card. He looked up and continued to look at Song Wuyo without saying a word. Song Wuyo raised her eyebrows. Young Master Gu, why are you looking at me like that? His gaze was scrutinizing and suspicious. This kind of gaze made her feel very uncomfortable. You never drank tea in the past, Gu Yanhao said impassively. Song Wuyo was stunned. She laughed and said, how do you know whether I drank tea in the past? Have you ever paid attention to me? Before you got injured, you had your period on the 20th of every month. Is that considered paying attention? When Song Wuyo heard this, her hands trembled and her face turned red. She looked up at Gu Yanhao. Her gaze was astonished under her long eyelashes. You're paying attention to this? Gu Yanhao did not answer her question. Instead, he asked, you don't know how to drive. Why did he change the topic so quickly? Song Wuyo replied, it's not that I don't know how to drive. It's just that after the accident, I've been traumatized and I don't dare to drive. She would not tell him the truth. Gu Yanhao could not find any loopholes in her words. Song Wuyo looked at him and saw a trace of fatigue between his brows. She subconsciously asked, are you okay? Has the poison in your body been purged? It would have been better if Song Wuyo hadn't asked. The moment she did, Gu Yanhao's gaze turned extremely cold. He also felt a pain in the back of his neck. He glared at her and sneered, you're getting more and more capable. You've even learned how to attack from behind. This was what shocked him. He never thought that she would knock him out at the critical moment. With her delicate and weak body, she definitely wouldn't be able to knock him out if she attacked randomly. The position where she had struck was the acupoint of the person just now. She had struck with one strike, and her strike was accurate and fast. This woman, in such a short time, was able to make him see her in a new light. Song Wuyo shrugged helplessly. If I don't knock you out, what if you suffer? At that time, won't you always say that I'm playing hard to get with you? Now, whenever she heard the words, playing hard to get, she felt annoyed. You should be grateful to me, Gu Yanhao said coldly. Song Wuyo put down the tea and whispered softly, I'm not grateful. If you didn't take it, I might not have drunk it. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. You knew that there was a problem with the wine. Song Wuyo sneered. Even if I used my knees to think, I would know that there was a problem with that cup of wine. What do you mean? Song Jiumei didn't know that I could play the Kong Ho. She pulled me up because she wanted to see me make a fool of myself so that Song Jiuyue could get off the stage. But she miscalculated. I just happen to know how to play the Kong Ho. They can't wait to hate me. Why would they be kind enough to give me wine? Sigh, you won't understand even if I tell you. In your heart, Song Jiuyue is the queen and I'm an idiot. If I explain, you'll only think that I'm jealous of Song Jiuyue and wronged her. Chapter 60. Song Wuyo got up. She didn't want to stay with Gu Yanhao at all. Su Jing washed the tea set and put it away. Yes, Mississippi, Song Wuyo went upstairs. You're not eating? Gu Yanhao asked coldly. I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat. Song Wuyo walked up the stairs elegantly. Gu Yanhao turned his head and looked at her back with a complicated expression. It wasn't until Song Wuyo went upstairs that Gu Yanhao reached out and took the business card on the coffee table. He crumpled it into a ball in his palm and threw it into the trash bin. Cook me a bowl of noodles. Gu Yanhao ordered Su Jing. Yes, young Master Gu. Su Jing hurried to the kitchen. Wait a minute. The man's voice sounded coldly again. Su Jing stopped and turned around to look at Gu Yanhao in confusion. Gu Yanhao looked up at her. How many years have you known Song Wuyo? Su Jing replied, 6 years. When Su Jing came to the Song family as a nanny, she was 17 years old and Song Wuyo was 15. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. You've been by her side for so many years. Has she ever learned to play a musical instrument? He didn't tell Su Jing that Song Wuyo played the kongho in the Song family. Su Jing shook her head. No. You watched over her every day during the 8 days she was hospitalized. Gu Yanhao's gaze was sharp. Su Jing was a little flustered. Yes. Why did young Master Gu ask this? Go and cook the noodles. Yes. After Su Jing left, Gu Yanhao said to Ade, I want to see her and Song Nan's DNA report as soon as possible. This subordinate will do it as soon as possible. Ade thinks for a while. Looking at Gu Yanhao's face, he asks, Young Master, what should we do with Miss Song? What should we do with him? Gu Yanhao's gaze was sinister. Let her be happy for a while. If she dares to do anything to hurt Song Wuyo again, I will never let her off. The noodles were cooked quickly. After Gu Yanhao finished eating, he went back to his study to work. Su Jing was cleaning on the first floor. When she saw the crumpled business card in the trash bin, she was stunned. Should he pick it up and give it to Miss? However, if young Master Gu found out, wouldn't he die a horrible death? After a mental struggle, Su Jing finally picked up the business card. She opened the card, memorized the number, and threw it away. When Song Jiuyue found out that Gu Yanhao drank the wine that Song Jiumei had drugged Song Wuyo, she was on tenterhooks the whole day. Although Gu Yanhao was very filial to old Master Gu, if he wanted to blame Song Jiumei, he would never punish her for old Master Gu's sake. When she thought that she might be fired by him and could no longer work in the Gu clan group, she panicked. It's all your fault. Song Jiuyue glared at Song Jiumei and scolded, how could you do such a stupid thing? I already arranged a man in Song Wuyo's previous room. Who knew that young Master Gu would drink it for her? Song Jiumei pointed at her clothes with a worried expression. Don't you know how to stop him? I was stunned for a moment and he drank the wine. No matter what, Song Wuyo is still young Master Gu's wife. Scheming against her is equivalent to scheming against young Master Gu. Sister, how can you say that? Young Master Gu clearly doesn't love her. Song Jiuyue sneered, I'm afraid he will love her in the future. Song Jiumei was stunned, what do you mean? The way he looks at Song Wuyo today is different from before. When she thought of Song Wuyo playing the kongho, Song Jiuyue got angry. I also think that Song Wuyo is different from before. Chapter 61. Song Jiuyue was puzzled. Can a person really change that much after being seriously injured? Song Jiumei was worried. If young Master Gu really falls in love with Song Wuyo, what will you do? When Song Jiuyue heard this, she paused for a moment and her gaze was resolute. I must win the fashion competition this time and attract young Master Gu's attention. You don't even want the inheritance of the Song Corporation to work for him and help him win the competition. He will definitely be grateful to you. Song Jiuyue glared at Song Jiumei fiercely and warned her, so you can't cause trouble. Even if it's about Song Wuyo, you can't do it again. Are we going to let Song Wuyo be smug? Song Jiumei was a little unconvinced. If young Master Gu fuss about drugging you, you'll suffer. Song Jiumei felt a chill down her spine. Sister, what should we do? I'll call young Master Gu again and apologize to him. Song Jiuyue took out her phone and dialed Gu Yanhao's number. Not long after, the other party picked up. As soon as she heard Gu Yanhao's voice, Song Jiuyue's voice immediately became sweet with a strong sense of grievance. Young Master Gu, Jiumei told me that she wanted to tease Wuyo, but she didn't expect, you're talking about that glass of wine. Before she could finish, the other party interrupted her in a low voice. Song Jiuyue was stunned and nodded. Yes, A low laugh suddenly came from the other end of the phone. Help me thank your sister. Her teasing improved my relationship with Wuyo. These words were like a knife cutting through Song Juyue's heart. Song Juyue's heart sank, her face turned pale. WH. What? Wuyo and I are very good. With that, the other party hung up. Song Juyue seemed to have lost all her strength. Her hand holding the phone dropped and she sat there in a daze. So, Song Wuyo had become Gu Yanhao's antidote. Sister, what's wrong? Song Jiumei saw that Song Juyue's expression was different and was very worried. Young Master Gu wouldn't punish her, right? She was so scared. He said that he and Song Wuyo. Song Juyue's eyes. Song Jiumei's eyes widened. Don't tell me young Master Gu wants Song Wuyo. Song Juyue suddenly glared at her coldly and growled, what do you think? It's all because of you. I only wanted to tease Song Wuyo. I didn't expect you to help her and young Master Gu. Sister, are you blaming me? Not only do I blame you, I also want to slap you. Song Jiumei looked at Song Juyue in disbelief. Song Juyue's eyes were cold. Once a man sleeps with a woman, it'll be out of control. Over time, he'll fall in love with the woman. Song Wuyo, that bitch, why did it have to be her? Song Jiumei gritted her teeth in hatred. That bitch had it easy. She thought about it and comforted her. In that kind of situation, the man shouldn't have true feelings, right? He's just venting. Venting is also sleeping. Song Wuyo took the design drafts to many tailors. When the tailors saw the clothes on her drawings, they shook their heads and didn't dare to take the order. It was too complicated. They didn't know how to make it. Song Wuyo was sweating profusely as she walked under the hot sun. She shuttled through the streets and alleys based on the original owner's memory. Without this memory, she wouldn't know how to survive in this strange world. At this moment, she was standing under the shade of a green tree by the road. Looking at the cars coming and going in front of her and the passers-by, she suddenly felt lost. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.